So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is the Mr. Media Interview, recorded live on blogtalkradio.com on June 10th, 2008. The only thing tougher than being a black man trying to hail a cab in Manhattan might be being a black man trying to sell a comic strip into a daily newspaper that already has a strip created by an African-American cartoonist. Carlos Gary knows how tough it is. He's the man behind two daily strips, the single-panel Working It Out and the multi-panel Café con Leche. And he's found an unusual twist. Café con Leche is about the lives of a young African-American man and his Latina wife. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's as everyday as Blondie, but it's never dull and it's always good for a laugh. Carlos, welcome to Mr. Media.
Nice to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually, as we speak, sketching a cartoon for Working It Out. But I'm putting that on hold right now.
I know you were just in New York, so it made it very easy for me to write that introduction. Was I out of line?
Well, not really, because it reminded me of a time I tried to catch a cab once on 2nd Avenue in New York City, Midtown, and I remember I was just real frustrated. Had my arm in the air, cabs were flying by, there were tons of white people on the same street, and the cab would just bypass me and pick them up. So after 10 minutes, I remember calling my mother and complaining about that. And I got to the point where I actually took out my wallet and, had it in the air. And there was this older lady who got the cab went by and picked her up, and I just kind of jumped in front of her and got a cab, and that's how I finally got going. So that was very, very on point, as they say.
And listen. Unless somebody's looking at my picture, I mean, maybe it's obvious. I'm a white guy. It was something I had never known to be a problem because I hadn't experienced it any more than anyone else, white trying to get a cab at a certain time of day. But anyway, I was thinking about this whole issue of black cartoonists having trouble getting into papers, and for some reason I was thinking about you in New York, and I thought, well, that's about as apt a comparison as I could think of.
That's pretty good. That was very, very good.
Thank you.
I was like, wow, I was a real creative kind of a dude. I appreciate that analogy. Thank
you. I'm going to retire now. The rest of the show is yours. Good night, everybody. Seriously, I've had the good fortune to have a number of successful daily cartoonists as guests on Mr. Media this past year. Stefan Pastis from Pearls Before Swine, Mark Tatuli, who does Leo and Heart of the City, and Ray Billingsley of Curtis. And the one thing that everyone agrees upon is that this is a brutal climate in which to be starting up a new strip, and yet, here you are doing it.
Yeah, they're absolutely right. Any kind of strip right now with newspapers shrinking in size and actually really going away. Layoffs all over the place. Everything is shrinking, including the comics page, which makes it even tougher if you have a news strip, which makes it even tougher if that news strip happens to be either characters happen to be minorities. So that's a crutch, and but it's out there, and I'm going to try to promote it the best I can.
Now you've had a double whammy this year. You've got a new strip, and I'm not saying anything negative about the strip whatsoever. I wouldn't have you here if I didn't like the strip, but up until recently, you had a full-time newspaper job. Can you kind of fill people in about what's going on there?
Oh, yeah. I was working as a graphic artist at my day job at St. Pete Times. It was like almost 3 years. And, just one day I was fired. Some people call it laid off, but it is what it is. I lost my job one day. And it was kind of a crushing blow. It's kind of ironic for a guy who draws a cartoon about, the workplace. And I actually had been drawing a lot of cartoons about layoffs and such because of the climate. And then here I am in the midst of the whole thing. And it's kind of like, it was a little surreal, and it was kind of depressing at first, but then I got a lot of ideas for working out with that situation. So, it worked itself out okay.
So
I'm sorry?
I don't think you don't want to go as far as to say they did you a favor, but at least they gave you more material.
They did. Well, the whole time I was there, I got to say, I got lots of material. I mean, the whole time, the whole situation with management and middle management in particular, I just kind of studied it. That place was a great place for fodder for working it out. Absolutely was wonderful. I got probably 100 cartoons just being there for 2 years.
Well, I want to be careful here because I'm still married to the Times through my spouse, so I don't want to put you in the position of saying anything too rotten about those folks. But I don't know that you would.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying I'm not going to try to. I mean, my time there was it was good. I got a lot of graphic stuff done. However, as in the back of my mind, as a cartoonist, you're going to look around. You're going to see if things are sort of like the strip. If I can apply what I see to my strip, I'm going to do that. That happens everywhere I go. It doesn't matter if it's the Times or anything. I'm not saying, "Ooh, this person was bad." It's just the whole situation right now when people are kind of fearing for losing their jobs and such. It's a really tense situation. But as a cartoonist, it's a really good situation because people talk and you listen and you apply that to your work. So that's pretty much all I'm saying.
Well, and the reason I brought that up was not so much to linger on that as to say that, I mean, you're out trying to sell two daily strips, particularly the new one, Café con Leche, into an environment that firsthand, the jobs are shrinking, the pages are shrinking, the content is shrinking.
That's true. But on a positive note, I'm seeing lots of newspapers pick up cartoons, so I'm a little bit thrilled about that part. I mean, when it comes right down to it, they're letting go a lot of old standards that have been there for a while and trying things new to kind of shake it up a little bit, trying to get more readers in any way they can. So that's a positive that I've actually seen. When I was in New York last week, I read all the papers. And I started seeing papers like Maintaining, which is running now in the Star Ledger, and I was really shocked and actually very happy about that because that's one of my favorite cartoons, and it's also written and drawn by an African-American cartoonist who is probably in the same situation that I am. He's probably had less than 10 papers, but he picked up that paper, and I was really, really ecstatic to see that. And I've been reading all the blogs like Daily Cartoonist, and I keep seeing new cartoons get picked up by papers. So, as Jesse Jackson said, keep hope alive.
Well, and dailycartoonist.com, of course, Alan Gardner's site, good place to get that information. Carlos, we've got a call already. I haven't even given out the phone number. Let me give out the phone number, and we'll check in with a caller. If you'd like to call in and talk to Carlos Gary today, if you're listening live on June 10th, 2008, the number is 646-595-3135. Hi, do you have a question or a comment for Carlos Gary?
Hey there, this is Chris Brown calling for Carlos.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I do Hager the Horrible, the little Viking guy.
Oh yeah, of course.
So I'm doing a politically incorrect strip from 1,000 years ago. So, but I have to tell you, I've been loving Café con Leche. I'm saying it wrong, but I loved it when it was a drink, and I love it more now that it's a brilliant comic strip. And
wow.
And I wanted to tell you that I think it's got the three things that are my test for what can be a great comic strip. It's well drawn, something you don't see anymore. It's well written, and it has heart and soul. And wow. I just love that. But I do have a question.
Sure.
Your characters are tall and thin. They are so tall. They are so tall that they can see into the strip above them. They're like, if Dan Ferraro has a Bizarro strip over yours, your characters can look in and see what his characters are doing. I was just wondering if that's a stylistic thing, or I've always been curious about why Modigliani painted people tall and thin. And, your guys make Modigliani's people look like pigs.
Well, I tell you what. First of all,
Chris,
thank you very much.
Carlos is still, I think Carlos is still trying to grasp that you called in.
I'm like blown away over here.
It's just beautiful work, and it's also, if I could throw one more thing in, it's a very healthy strip. Your characters bicker with each other, but you sense the love, you sense the affection between the lines, and that's something people have noticed about Hager is they say, Hager and Helga fight all the time, and I say, yeah, but it's from love, it's from love, and I think that's true with your characters.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to say I'm just blown away that, I'm talking to Dick Brown right now, Hager the Horrible. Oh, my God, I grew up watching this strip.
Thank you.
And, I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. This is like a huge honor.
Blown away.
And second, they are tall and thin on purpose because, actually when I drew Trey, the male character, I kind of patterned him after Will Smith back in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air days.
Oh, okay.
He's really tall and angular. And
right.
And Maria, I wanted to make her almost equal height to him, So when they're arguing, which as you see they do all the time, they're arguing face to face instead of him bending down. But it's also a stylistic thing too. I tend to draw long and angular, so that's my thing.
It's really, I don't know how to put it into words, but it makes it more fun. It's visually fun. It doesn't look like anything else on the comics page, but it looks really good. And your writing is really, really funny and really tight, and it's usually about something, So you really can't beat that.
Well,
to top it all off, you're with a terrific syndicate. I've never worked for a creative syndicate, but I know a lot of the guys over there, and just a great outfit, very, very artist-oriented, and good people. Good people.
Well, I hope they're listening, and I hope they, send me an email about that, coming from you. So thank you for all of that nice stuff. Wow.
Oh, absolutely, man. Just keep up the beautiful work. Beautiful work.
Chris, before you go, let me jump in for a second, and just in case anyone didn't catch it, so I'm talking to Carlos Gary, who does Cafe con Leche and Working It Out, and on the phone with us, just calling in to surprise Carlos, is Chris Brown, who does Hagar the Horrible, and who is part of a very well-known family of cartoonists. His dad, Dick Brown, founded the strip, was also part of High and Lois, has been partnered with Mort Walker over the years, and Chris's brother Chance is involved in the strips. This is comic strip royalty we're talking here.
Absolutely.
Well, if that's true, where are the jewels? Where are the jewels, Mr. Media?
They're protected where they always are. My wife has my jewels in a box.
I'm going to steal that gag. Okay.
That's good.
Take care, guys, and beautiful work.
Thank you very much. Wow.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.
That was huge. I need a drink of water, actually, right now.
All right. Take a deep breath.
Oh, yeah.
You never know who's going to call in on Mr. Media, huh?
Yeah, I met Dan Peralta a few months ago in New York, and I thought that was huge. Chris Brown. No offense, Dan. You cool. And I should have mentioned this, that Dan is Chris's son-in-law. Really?
Yep. I'm telling you, we're talking comic strip royalty here.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. It's absolutely, that was great. I tell you what, made my year, actually.
Good. Well, let's see. Let me give out the phone number one more time, and we'll come back to chatting here. It's if you'd like to call in and ask a question or make a comment to Carlos Gary, creator of two strips, Cafe con Leche and Working It Out. The number to call is 646-595-3135. So when we were so rudely interrupted by Chris Brown, we were talking about the newspaper industry. What do you think you could do yourself to get the strip carried more widely? What can you do that you're not already doing?
Well, now that I'm freelance, now that I'm actually focusing on this cartoon and other projects, I am dedicating myself to that end. Now I'm actually going to be calling, bugging people. You got to in this business. You can't just rely on the sales staff. You got to throw out your feelers and, send out a few emails, maybe little postcards promoting your craft, and then calling them up and letting them know that you're local. Just trying to do whatever you can to get in there, and hopefully either they'll accept it or they'll go for one of those what do you call those things? Those free deals where they kind of run your cartoon for a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks, and see if the audience likes it and pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about
so you're not.
these days.
I was going to say, you're not opposed to. I'm sorry, Carlos. You're not opposed to getting your hands dirty and making the calls and encouraging editors to take a look at your stuff.
I really dislike that kind of stuff. Really, I always say that sales staffs are there for a purpose. But I got some really good advice once from Lalo Alcaraz, a cartoonist friend of mine who drives La Cucaracha out in California. And I met him once, and he said, "You got to promote, man. You got to do it." And I saw how hard he worked on it, and also I see people like Darren Bell and how he's getting more work with Canterville. And I see how these guys, how hard they work, and it just inspired me to do the same thing. And this 2008, what the situation in newspapers are going, you got to do it. Otherwise, you just be left behind.
You and I spoke a week or two ago when we set up this interview, and you were telling me that Cafe Con Leche has changed a bit since it's evolved. Can you talk a little bit about where you started and kind of where you are now?
Well, about 2 years ago when I came up with the idea of a Cafe Con Leche, it was a different kind of a cartoon strip, and I have some like old versions of it, and I look at it, I just kind of shake my head now, and it was too close to home, I think. It's so close that it was not that funny when it first started out, and sad to say, I started drawing about myself and my wife, African American and Latina, strictly based on things that we've gone through, which I didn't think was fair. I mean, I at that time I was all caught up in that. Along the way, I started realizing the funniest thing in this cartoon is the mother-in-law, Trey's mother, and that shouldn't be the way it is. So last summer, I took a sabbatical from my job at the St. Pete Times, 1 month, just not working there, and I went to New York City. I had a little place in downtown and a little studio, and just drew. I wanted to be inspired. New York is one place that has always inspired me. So I took the subway and started watching people and biracial couples, lots of them in New York City, arguing, talking, just, going through stuff. I heard a lot of good inspiration. And that's how the cartoon started to evolve. So right around about September of last year, it started changing. And then it started changing even more around January of this year, because I started feeling my way through. These characters started getting their own identity, their own personality, outside of me and my wife. It was just like, it's Trey and Maria now, and this is what I was drawing. And so I started giving them, little things like Maria tends to bug Trey a lot and tries to outsmart him because she's a smart aleck, and Trey is kind of an everyday guy. He goes to the bar with his cousin Ray, and he drinks a lot of beer, and he's a wisecracking dude. He's a mama's boy. So it's so different from this guy who was married to this woman, and they talked about pretty much stuff that not a lot of people could understand a year ago to where it is now. And that's because it's just a lot of developing, a lot of working it up, as I say.
Okay. Well, Carlos, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. We've got another caller for you. Let's see what we got here. Hi, do you have a question or comment for Carlos Gary?
Yes, Carlos. I'm the daddy of Curtis.
How you doing?
All right, how's it going there?
It's hot.
Oh yeah. This heat wave is something else. I wanted to call in, and first of all, I wanted to congratulate you on your success, and all you've done so far. It's really been amazing.
Oh, thank you. Wow. What? Wow.
So you're creating 2 strips.
Absolutely.
And well, I suppose that leaves you life. What is your daily schedule like?
Daily schedule is I wake up in the morning around 7 o'clock or so. I go to the gym for about an hour. I come back, take a shower, get Starbucks, come back. By that time, it's probably 10 o'clock. and then I start on working it out first. Because the first thing on my mind when I wake up is working it out. Then when that's done, when I start drawing maybe 3 working it outs, I do 2 or 3 Leche cartoons at the end of the day. I'd like to draw that at night for some strange reason. And, then I watch a little TV or something, and I'll go out jogging, and then I go to sleep. And that's it all over again.
During the daytime, that's about the only time you really have to go out and just do things you want to do.
Well, that happens very rarely, the things I want to do. The weirdest thing is I really want to do Cafe con Leche and working it out. That sounds like a cartoon geek or something, but it's what I'm kind of obsessed with it right now. Particularly Cafe con Leche because it's really hitting its stride, and I really want to be drawing the next one and writing the next script.
Right. There's nothing wrong with being a geek. All of us cartoonists, I think in some way, we are all geeks. And, we love what we do. And that's exactly why we do it.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, particularly you. I've been watching your strips since can't even remember.
Oh, yeah. And been out there a while. I've been in the business a long, long time. So you might have seen some of my stuff and didn't even know, it was me.
Trailblazing, I got to tell you.
I still keep up doing monthly installments to Ebony Magazine, and not a lot of people even know that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I actually, early on in my career, I started doing cartoon spots. And, it just kept going. I mean, I've done everything. Now then, back to you.
Well, hey, Ray, let me ask you a question while we have you here.
Okay.
Is there any advice you could offer Carlos starting out? I mean, you've been on Mr. Media before, and we've had some interesting conversations about kind of I guess we can call it a glass ceiling that exists for African American cartoonists. Some newspapers have this unspoken, unwritten one black cartoon or 2 black cartoons.
Right.
How can a young guy like Carlos succeed in this situation?
Well, see, what Carlos is doing right now is exactly what he needs to do. He is so enamored with doing his work that it keeps pushing him to strive. And that's basically the only way to combat this. It's not actually, an ignorance on their part. They don't know. But what you really have to do is do your 110% best every day to stand out above everyone else. And each time I get a rejection or I fall behind something, all it does is inspire me to do better, so that I maintain my place on the page, and people still look forward to reading it, after so many years. Basically, that's the real thing. That's why I asked him if he had much of a life. For me to keep it up the way I am, I really don't have that much of a life. I get a chance to go out maybe a couple hours a day, but my major focus is just making the strip better and better, trying to forge new art into an old art form. So basically, he's on the right track right now. And for any future cartoonists of color, as they say, that are coming up, I would tell them to do the same thing. You have to put in so much more than everyone else.
Yeah, amen. Ain't that the truth?
Oh, yeah. Now, Carlos, what or who was your initial inspiration to create a strip?
I'm going to tell you my initial inspiration to draw cartoons in general, because I didn't start off as a comic strip artist. I started off as an editorial cartoonist. Okay. And my inspiration was actually Jim Borgman.
Okay, yes, great guy.
I just, I was in college, and I would read his editorial cartoons, and I would think to myself, now this is what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. This guy, it's really poignant with his thought process. He's really, he's a great artist. I mean, he draws great, except he doesn't do too much. You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, I see a lot of cartoonists, particularly editorial cartoonists, who just draw like crazy to the point that it's just so much. His stuff is so clear, and his technique and his ideas were so clear. That was the goal. So I always looked at him as a person to really, really follow, style-wise and as far as creativity. And then when I started doing strips, I started looking around, and I picked a few strips I really liked. Dave Coverley started to inspire me for single panel stuff. And fortunately, we're on the same same syndicate, so that's great. And so I looked at his stuff, and I started looking at Bizarro and, of course, Gilbert. Those are a few guys who I checked out. And then I became a huge fan of Boondocks.
Okay.
Somewhere down the line. Back in the day. Not now, but when it first started.
So tell me, here's a question for you may not want to answer. At what age did you discover your love of cartooning?
What age? Oh,
this
cartooning?
may be giving away something, but
I don't care. As a youngster, I'm thinking I always wanted to be a cartoonist when I was probably about, I want to say, 8 or 10, somewhere like that.
Okay, that's great.
That's when I knew I wanted to be a cartoonist. I remember one day I was watching it was a TV show, a comic show back, the strip, whatever you call it, a Sunday morning cartoon, Saturday morning one, called The Super Friends in the 70s. And I remember, being a big fan of Superman and that whole strip. I mean, that whole show. And my father was watching it with me, and I asked him, like, can I be like a comic strip guy when I grow up? Can I draw cartoons? And he kind of looked at me and he smiled and he said, that's going to be hard because, there's no black cartoonists out there. And that was pretty kind of sad. So I think at that moment I was really determined to show him, I guess, that maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
So it became like a passion since of that age, and since he said what he said.
How does he feel about it now?
Oh, my father, he don't understand working it out because my father is not like the kind of a person that works in the office, so he doesn't get that strip at all. But he does like Leche. I think because there's a character in it that's really modeled after my mother, and he just laughs. And he sees that and he goes, "Oh, that's Julia. That sure is Julia." The Mama G character. It's absolutely patterned after my mother. So every time he sees that, he just laughs.
Cousin Ray Ray?
I'm sorry?
Cousin Ray Ray?
Oh, Cousin Ray Ray. Well, Cousin Ray Ray is named after my cousin. I have a cousin named Reynard. Okay, good. And
I get that from my cousins. So,
oh, yeah, you got cousins?
Oh, yeah. I'm the only artist in the family, so they still think of me as, a little bit of an oddball.
Oh, me too. Like, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
You ever heard that "did a real job" thing that I always used to hear?
Yeah. Tell me this. Do you remember your very first professional drawing?
Professional drawing. First one. The one I got paid for?
Yeah, the one you got paid for.
Oh, yeah, vividly. I got out of college. I attended the University of Toledo in Ohio, and I had this gig at the Fort Wayne News Sentinel. And they published my cartoon for the first time. I did an editorial cartoon for them about something local. And I remember them sending me a copy of it. And I was just ecstatic, just bounced off the wall, got my little measly check.
That's great.
Looked at it. I don't think I cashed that check. I just looked at it. Wow, I'm a professional now. And it was like $20 or $15. It was something real like piddly. But hey, I was a professional.
Yeah. Now listen, I understand that you and several other guys, African American cartoonists, came together to send a message to the publishers. And I wanted to participate because I've been screaming the same message, by myself for years. But the call that came to me came too late, and I was already way past the deadline for my art to be included. I just wanted to find out if you could elaborate further and what happened afterwards. Did anything happen for you guys personally?
Well, I think, and I talked to a lot of the brothers who was involved with that. We just keep emailing. We're emailing each other like regularly. And what happened with a lot of us is exposure. People hadn't heard of Carlos Gary, hadn't heard of Nate Creekmore, hadn't heard of Darren Bell and such. And suddenly,
I'm surprised they hadn't heard of you.
No, they hadn't heard of me at all.
It's not like you all came out last week.
I know, but if you say the cartoon, maybe they hear about Darren, and that'd be it. But now, oh yeah, weren't you guys a part of that thing that happened? On February the 10th. Oh yeah, I remember you guys. That was great. That was pretty good. Didn't get me any gigs, I don't think, but it did get some exposure for the strips and for our cause.
Well,
and so, we were talking in Newsweek magazine and Washington Post, and it was like all this suddenly interest in this issue that's been out there forever. And I know personally, I was kind of overwhelmed by the response that people gave us. And I know, like, hearing from other people who were involved, Tim Jackson and such, same thing happened with them.
Oh, great. That was great. Well, tell me, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future of cartooning for people of color?
That's a really good question. I want to be pessimistic because I think I'm a natural pessimist. However, I don't feel that way. I think that what's going to go on is if we continue to do things like this, if we individually go out and talk to people in public and book signings and such, and let them know, hey, look at us, we're out here. Yeah. You can do it too without saying that. I think that's going to send a message to people. And as I go to New York next week, I'm already planning to do a few events in Harlem and the South Bronx. Just show up at some schools and talk to folks, talk to kids, and say, hey, not the whole if I can do it, you can do it thing, but just be there as a symbol so people can see me and make their own, ideas.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I had never known of a black cartoonist when I was a kid. I mean, so that would have helped me immensely. That's all you need is to see something to motivate people. And I think that if we, as a collective, go out and continue to do things like I see people doing after this event that happened February 10th, I think we can make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, let me ask you both a question. Since I'm lucky enough to have you both here, we're at an interesting time here nationally, obviously, where the Democratic presidential candidate is going to be an African American man, and who knows what could happen in November. You guys talk about opportunities for African American cartoonists. Does something like this potentially kick the door wide open for all kinds of things? Even beyond opportunities for more black comic strips?
Who do you want to go first?
You can take this one first.
Okay. I'm a little bit like Carlos in this one. Sometimes what it seems to be turns out to not be what it will be. I would hope that, for one, it would actually open up a lot of opportunities, but many times it does not. I really have to see what is really going to go on, because people will look in your face and say, oh, yes, I'm going along with it, and then not do anything. So absolutely nothing happens. Basically, it's still up to us as individuals to do all that work that we would hope somebody would break the door open. Now, mind you, when I started doing Curtis, and Rob came directly after, and then Stephen Bentley, we had all thought, wow, the door is open. Let's just swing through. And it didn't really happen. We got nice readership and all that, but the doors did not swing wide open as we had expected. There wasn't a flood of new talent. Even though it was out there, they still weren't being published as we thought it would. So I've got my fingers crossed, but I'm also got a foot in reality too. Just because one thing happens doesn't mean that the entire nation is going to change their mind. We really got to work on individuals per se to get that point across.
Absolutely, and to piggyback off of that, I've been watching CNN. I'm a CNN addict suddenly, and I'm watching it. And months ago, everybody's all ecstatic about this idea of, we got the black presidential candidate, possibly great. This is back in December and such, and now it's June, and that's all going away mostly. There are a lot of people who are afraid of what could happen. Oh crap, he's really going to do it. So right. Suddenly you got this backlash of stuff coming by.
Yeah,
and it's what I'm seeing as far as that is concerned. I'm happy to see the fact that a female candidate and a black candidate got this far, and the people are talking about that. Now, if we can apply that to what we do as cartoonists, I would love for one day to be enough of us where the fact that we're African American, or Latino, or Asian cartoonists doesn't really matter. Just say, hey, there's this cartoonist. To me, that'd be how we could actually win. We wouldn't have to stage sit-ins and protests and things like that to get our point across when it's just kind of like a matter of fact. That's what I think, that we're on the same playing field.
Yes.
Will Barack Obama show up in either of your strips between now and November?
Well, you know what? In my case, I've made several mentions of him already, and I've got another little story of his that'll be coming up quite soon, actually. But I haven't actually drawn the character. I just draw how the characters react to all this that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been drawing a lot about Barack Obama since he announced. Actually, I did a thing a couple of months back where Maria and Trey, the married couple, Latin lady and African American, they were on two different sides of the fence. Whereas Maria, being a Latina, she was all about Hillary Clinton, and Trey was all about Barack Obama, and that created a little bit of tension in their household. So I kind of played that off each other for a few weeks, and now that Hillary's out of the picture, hopefully, focusing on Barack Obama. Now, I just got through drawing a cartoon last night where, what's his name, Trey, is just obsessed with Barack Obama. He has like a man crush on Barack Obama.
Oh, no.
And Maria is kind of teasing him, Mm-hmm. As, I can't believe that my husband has a man crush on Barack Obama, and then he's watching TV, he's looking at Maria and says, look, we both have big ears,
Well, and Carlos, I'm trying to remember this, it was just about 2 weeks ago, I think, you had a strip where I think Trey is teasing, could have been Ray Ray, it was cousin, I think, about about supporting John McCain.
Oh, yeah. That's the running theme I have with Ray Ray, because Ray Ray is he's in the streets. He's like pretty much what we call like a straight down street brother. He's like down to the core, as we used to say. But he supports John McCain, and whereas Trey is the upwardly mobile guy who went to college and married a successful wife, and pretty much a yuppie. Yeah. So he makes fun of Ray Ray, who's supposed to be the street guy, who makes fun of Trey for supporting John McCain, and he asks him why. And he says, well, I think John McCain is a better leader, and I think he's great for our country and protect the military or something like that. And Trey just rips him apart about that. Because the worst thing to be, I don't know, I'm speaking for myself here in my experience, the hardest thing to be in the black community is a black Republican. Because there's some closet black Republicans, but they don't really say it.
Sure.
It's hard because I think my father and my mother are really Republicans based on how they act and behave, but they'll never vote Republican because that's kind of like it's a bad thing in the black neighborhood. So that's why I took on this thing with Trey and Ray Ray.
Interesting. That's something for your inspiration. Wow.
Yeah. So I got I mentioned. So Trey tells Ray Ray, so what now? You're listening to Hootie and the Blowfish now, and things like this. Just kind of to tease him for this John McCain thing. Wow. Nothing against John McCain. I'm sure he's okay.
I just wanted to say this one last thing, because I know I've taken up a lot of your time. I mean, I could talk on the subject forever. But, man, you got to come down to at least one of the Reuben Awards. Let yourself be seen and all that. I understand why you probably don't want to attend, because it's probably the same reason why most of the guys don't want to come. But it'd be nice, to meet your colleagues and have them meet you and all that, and let them know that you're there.
Well, I went last year actually when I was in Orlando.
You were there? I was there.
I was there. I mean, for a quick minute, I was there.
Oh, okay.
I showed up. Well, creators had set something up where I was supposed to I don't know how it was working. They kind of took care of it for me, and it didn't work out that way. I remember showing up in this lobby in this tux and meeting a bunch of people who promptly said, "Who are you? What are you drawing?" I'm sorry, I never heard of that.
Wow.
Who? What? I mean, I got a lot of that for about an hour, and when it was time to go into the big shindig, the big dinner, I was supposed to have this, invitation. Well, it wasn't there. Wow. So that created a problem. Since I just live in Tampa, I was like, I'm just going to go home now, because this is just, not cool. I don't see any black faces in here. I was looking for black people and minorities.
You would have only seen one.
That's what I'm thinking. How did you guys miss each other? My goodness.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. We might have been at separate ends and all that.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
Ray, listen, I don't know if you heard this, but Carlos is relocating from Tampa to New York.
Oh,
so,
my old stomping ground.
Yeah, and Carlos, Ray is just up in Connecticut. So once you're up there, I'm just going to lay the pressure on both of you to find a way to hook up.
Yeah, man, we'll have to get together. Definitely.
Not a problem.
I had to actually leave New York because I was having too much fun, and I wasn't getting my work done. There's nothing like a stay-at-home cartoonist, to invite lots of trouble.
I know. I mean, I'm setting up shop. I just rented a studio space in Jersey, up in Jersey City, right off the PATH train. So I'll be actually in Jersey drawing, and I'll be in New York living. So, but hey, Connecticut's not far. What's his name lives over there? Where's that guy?
It's 40 minutes away.
That's right. There is a cartoonist who lives in Connecticut now.
There's a lot of them, man. There's the Mort Walker's up here. I don't know if you're familiar with the name Mel Kassan and Bob Weber. He does a strip called Moose. Mm-hmm. And his son, who is also a cartoonist. There's quite a few cartoonists up around here.
Yes, but the guy who draws Mama's Boys lives there.
Right.
Can't think of his name suddenly.
Yeah,
Jerry Kraft.
Yeah.
And he's going to be at the Harlem Book Fair coming up in a couple of weeks, which I'm going to go just to support him. I think he always goes to this thing.
Okay.
And so we should hook up, all of us.
It's funny because Jerry and I, we lived like 10 blocks away from each other back in Harlem and didn't even know it. And went through a lot of the same sort of experiences because at that time Harlem was not the Starbucks condo type place it is now.
Oh, that's at 125th Street.
Yeah. It was a lot rougher, and I think so were we. So, oh man, New York is a fun place. Sometimes I still miss it. People like Jules Pfeiffer still tease me about it, saying, "Hey man, you don't belong in Connecticut." And I said, "Yeah, I know, but here I am right now. Here I am." But yeah,
what did he mean by that? I don't get it.
Well, Jules
no, I'm just kidding.
From years ago, I was a bad boy, and Connecticut's not really set for bad boys. They're very quiet here and very, very laid back, almost mannequin-like. And I was really used to causing a lot of confusion. So a lot of the cartoonists know that. It's so funny because sometimes at these Reuben meetings, I ask some of the guys, "Hey, you want to go hang out?" And their wives come running up. No, I don't want you to play with Ray because they don't know what I'm about to get them into. I went to Dallas, Texas with a couple of cartoonists. I better not say their names because they're married. But we were hanging out, and we wound up meeting the Dallas cheerleaders. So,
whoa.
Yeah, anything could happen when you hang out. Hang out with me.
Well, that's cool. Hey, I like that.
You guys will have to follow this up together.
Yeah, well, look, I better get off because I'm pretty sure other people need to call in.
All right.
Or else this will just be the Carlos Ray show.
Well, Ray, my friend, it was very nice of you to call in. I know Carlos was clearly very surprised to hear from you and Chris, and always good to talk to you.
Oh,
and
great.
I will pass on your off the air. I will pass on your contact information to Carlos.
Okay.
So you guys can connect when he gets settled up north.
That'd be great.
And when you're down in the city, if you're at St. Nicholas and 138th, look me up.
Wow, 138th. I grew up on St. Nicholas, 140th Street.
Right up the street.
That's right. I know what building you're in.
Oh yeah, that one on the corner.
Oh yeah, I know which one. All right. So
hey Ray. Take care of yourself.
You too, Bob. And Carlos, you have a good one.
Hey, you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, Carlos, I don't have any other surprises up my sleeve. Anything that happens from this point to the end is completely news to me.
I gotcha. That was fun.
Yeah. Oh, I tell you what. Ray and Chris are real good guys. They're very supportive of young cartoonists. Chris, I know Ray is still listening, and Chris is actually in the web chat saying nice things about Ray and that he enjoyed chatting with you. So, glad we could bring them on and give you a little extra exposure there to some of the class in the industry, I think.
There was some heavy hitters. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, definitely. And I know you have a link on your site to Jerry Kraft. I know Jerry too. Same way I know Ray Billingsley actually from through Will Eisner actually. So it's a very small world that you're in there.
Small fraternity, yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely a small fraternity. Let's talk a little bit about working it out. I guess that's as a single panel. It's not really seen as an ethnic or racial strip, really, is it?
Nope. That was the idea when I first started it. I didn't want to make it. I didn't want to break in. When I started this cartoon, was back in I think 2000, 2001, something like that. And I was like, okay, so if I do a cartoon about politics, and it's not strictly about politics, office politics, maybe I can break some papers. Maybe I can compete with Dilbert here. But I knew if I made about black people in an office, it just wouldn't go. So, and I just wanted to leave that out. I said one day I'm going to do a strip about minorities and such. But right now, I'm just going to keep it strictly office politics. Because I had this boss back in the day in Chicago who just, was a terror. And this cartoon was like therapy. If I didn't draw this cartoon, I don't think I would have made it. So that's how that came about.
Wow. And now that strip is in a lot more papers than Café con Leche, is that right?
Oh yeah, it's been around a while. And when people look at working it out, they're not thinking, ooh, a minority strip. Hey, there's a black face, there's a Latina. They think, hey, office politics, cool, let's get it, or something like that. So it's. I think it could be an easier sell. I used to think it could be, but you never know now. I mean, times change. I mean, people look at it, and if they want a single-panel cartoon to go with their working column or something like that, it's just easy to slip on in. Mm. So it was an easier process with working it out. And right now, it's like my baby, because when I draw working it out, I know what to draw. It's not even a question because I've done it for so long. So it keeps me grounded.
What do you what would you like to see in your future, let's say 5 years out, for the strips and yourself?
Well, I have no clue. I'm one of those guys who just at this point living by the seat of my pants. I would like, I guess, in theory, to see maybe work at Café con Leche catch up with working it out in a number of papers, hopefully succeed, bypass it. That's my main goal, for the two of them to be kind of like on the same playing field. Right now, it's just not that way. I'm working on it. I'm making phone calls and such, but I think that's the only goal I have right now for the strips.
I would think that Café con Leche would be a great option for the folks at the CW. That it would make just a perfect sitcom for that network.
Well, hey, I wouldn't like to turn that down. I'm crossing my fingers or something like that.
Okay, I don't. I know Chris and I know Ray. I don't know anybody at the CW, so I'm just kind of planting that there. But I mean, conceptually, it seems like the perfect kind of melding of ethnicity and race, and it just seems like a perfect kind of thing over there. So get started on that, will you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm in the process of learning Flash, which is one of the things I always wanted to learn, and I'm thinking about, hopefully by the fall, putting up some Flash animations of Café con Leche online on YouTube, so people can just like look at certain episodes I've done of cartoons in the last couple of months and just see them moving and talking. There was someone did some kind of a piece for a channel, one of the TV stations here in Tampa, about me, a profile, and they had my cartoons talking, and I thought, what a great idea! What a great idea! I think I'll do that, but I guess I need to learn it first, so that's what I'm going to do this summer.
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
So when are you making the big move to New York for good?
Making a big move to New York next week. Sometime about Thursday, I'll be gone. Putting some stuff in storage and just packing up some clothes and moving up there. And then I'm going to come back, and it's a step-by-step moving process. I'm going to get stuff out of storage and piecemeal bring it up so it won't be as expensive right now in this economy. So, yeah, but I'll be gone from the South next week.
Well, and you had your big kiss-off to Florida in your site this week. and yeah, both on in the strip and I should say on the site, you bid a not so fond farewell. So you're not going to miss the weather. I'm quickly trying to surf over to your site here so I can read from your blog. Of course, here we go. There are some things that Carlos Gary is going to miss about the Tampa Bay area. He's going to miss the beaches, although he never went. Jogging along Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa. He's going to miss South Tampa. The outlet malls. Got to have the outlet malls. Old Hyde Park, Corey the dog, public supermarkets, and Hillsborough Bay. Now, the things he is not going to miss a week from now, and I'm going to read this backwards. Number 8, the Gasparilla Parade, the poor man's Mardi Gras. 7, flip-flops. 6, bugs and flying insects. 5, greasy southern food. Fried this, deep fried that, battered, dipped, whatever. 4, the lack of diversity, big problem here. 3, the heat and the humidity. 2, slowness. And number 1, apparently tied, these are all tied, rednecks, Confederate flags, and pickup trucks. Thank you and good night. Yeah, you've been here just long enough, it seems like.
Yeah, I moved here from California about 3 years ago, and I drove here. And the first thing that I saw, I got an apartment in St. Pete at that time, and I pulled up to this gas station on Olmerton Drive, and I got out of my car, and this lady would just glared at me, and I looked around like to see if she was looking at something else, and she was just glaring. And I waved at her, and she didn't wave back, just glared some more, and she sped off in a pickup truck with a gigantic Confederate flag on the back, and I'm like, what in the world did I get myself into?
It was like I was going to say the old. I think it was the Mary Hartman, or the maybe it was Fernwood Tonight. The big joke was they do. Oh, it was Fernwood Tonight. They did the talk show, and they stopped the guy driving through town because they'd never had a Jew in town before. So they brought him on the talk show to find out what is a Jew exactly, and So yeah, I can see that would be a little awkward here in the South.
I just wasn't ready. I wasn't like ready. I lived in Chicago and New York before, and then like Southern California. And you just don't see that stuff there. And I came, even though I grew up in Florida, and I was born in South Florida and grew up in Orlando. This is a whole different ballgame, Tampa Bay. I expected, it'd be like Miami or Orlando. It is not. So I wasn't used to that kind of stuff. And the looks and the stairs and the Confederate flags and whatnot. It was, I thought I was in Alabama, which I would have expected. Nothing against Alabama, but hey. And I moved to, and I looked around. I got used to it after a while. I started liking. There's things about this place, this area that I really like, and I started focusing more on them than the other things. So I liked it, but it's over now.
Well, and you must be thrilled that as part of your going away, the folks over in Tampa have posted that humongous Confederate flag right at the intersection of I-4 and I-275. I didn't know that much about it until I saw it on CNN last night. So I know that if I was a person of color, I would sure feel welcome here.
See, this is what I don't understand. I've never got this about Florida. You do something like that in New York or Chicago, and there will be riots, or Los Angeles. Yeah. Down here, it's just like, no big thing. It's just the South. I never got that. I remember I was walking on the street, and where was I? Somewhere in Harlem. Oh, no, it wasn't Harlem. It was Upper East Side or something. And I saw a pickup truck, like a F-150 or something, just rolling up and down Lexington, and people stopped and took a look. I'm more like, I gasped. There's a pickup truck in Manhattan. What the heck's going on? And here, there's a Confederate flag blasted on a corner of two major interstates, and no one really seems to care. I it's odd for a person like myself. But hey, it's not my problem anymore.
I agree. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up in the morning and find that someone either shot at it or tore it down, set it aflame, something, and it's still there. I just don't get it. I'm with you on this. It doesn't make any sense. But well, that's a strange way to kind of wind down here. But listen, I want to wish you well. I enjoy the strip. That's why I sought you out to have you on the show. I want to, I hope maybe you get a little bump from this, and New York will be good to you in ways that maybe Florida wasn't. And I hope next time we talk, you'll be in a whole lot more newspapers.
Well, I appreciate being on the show, and I'm glad you sought me out to put me on this thing. I'm glad you're a fan of the strip, and whoa, the heavy hitters that was on this thing. Man, I'm still catching my breath from all of this.
Well, you'll be one of those guys the next time. You call in and talk to the next young guy.
Knock on wood.
All right. Well, Carlos Gary, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you calling into Mr. Media.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care of yourself. Good luck.
Okay.
Bye-bye. So, if your local paper doesn't yet carry at least one of Carlos Gary's strips, Café con Leche or Working It Out, now's as good time as any to call and demand it. You can also keep up with his strips online at www.creators, that's CREATORS as in Sam, .com, creators.com. Or you can check out his personal blog at http:// you know the routine, Carlos Tunes. It's CarlosToons.blogspot.com. Finally, did you get that? CarlosTunes.blogspot.com. Finally, you can order the first Working It Out collection online at MrMedia.com or Amazon.com. Now, for dozens more celebrity and media newsmaker interviews, surf over to our main website, www.mrmedia.com. That's where you can listen to my previous conversations with the stars, creators, and producers of Army Lives, 24, The Big Bang Theory, Pearls Before Swine, Tell Me You Love Me, The Dark Knight, and many others. And please think about writing an online review of Mr. Media or marking Mr. Media as one of your favorites, whether you listen to it on Blog Talk Radio, Blueberry, Zencast, Odeo, or iTunes. And folks, thanks so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. It's always a pleasure when you take a little time out of your day for Mr. Media. And see you again real soon. Bye, everybody.